This is our latest in a series of podcasts around well-being and AI and how disruptive tech can facilitate various HR strategies and processes remotely. So on the panel today, we have Helen Straker, who's a senior consultant at PA Consulting in the people and talent team, as well as Tariq Mona from Legal & General, who's digital product manager within the employee engagement team. And we have, of course, Devyani Vaishamparan from the HR Tech Partnership. So thank you very much, guys, for joining us today and sharing your insight. So first of all, I'm going to come to you, Devyani. I feel like my idea of well-being and wellness, I think, is probably dominated by mental health, as I think probably quite a few people's are. But I know you have some thoughts about there's a bit more to it than that, and what well-being is in the wider perspective. So I'm just going to share some slides here to intro you in.
Right. So, well, I think you're right. The last 6 weeks has definitely put well-being onto the forefront. But I think what is probably more concerning is the whole element of remote working is going to be around now in a much bigger way. So, the latest report by Gartner has showed that, and this is actually 3 weeks old, which says that 74% of companies plan to shift some employees to remote work permanently. And actually this week, there was another report by Tata Consultancy Services, which has 450,000 employees globally. And they made the decision that 75% of the employees, which is almost 340,000 employees, will now work from home on a permanent basis. So I think the wellness issue is definitely important. But it's also physical wellness. Mental wellness is obviously going to be huge. And then the third aspect, I think, given how difficult financial conditions are going to be, I think financial well-being and wellness is definitely going to be much up higher on the leader's agenda than it has been earlier.
Thank you, Devyani. I appreciate that as a great intro. I want to come to one of our panelists now, just to explore what are you basically doing, Tariq, at the moment at Legal & General around this area?
Yeah. So for us, it's been quite a journey, I think, and we're quite proud of the steps we've taken for our employees. We've done quite a bit in this space. So from when coming out of going into lockdown, essentially, there was a bit of a shift in the tone of how we communicate. So our internal comms team did a great job, and they are still doing a great job of shifting that tone to empowerment, to more getting employees to feel like they have control, they've got things and support that they can do there. So the tonal shift's really important. We use platforms like Unmind. That has been really helpful for our employee base, and we've seen uptake on that grow rapidly. And also looking at our employee benefits space altogether, there's been a few changes just to help people through this time. For example, we used to give gym passes out, but now this is online fitness classes and online coaching. So we've got that element there. We've got salary finance, which is a large company that we invest in to help people with their financial needs. And as Devyani mentioned, financial well-being is really key here as well, to make sure people have control over their finances right now. So there's a lot going on in this space at the moment for us.
Amazing. And I think that tonal shift is really important. And Helen, do you have some interesting thoughts around how this has become, not just a nice to have?
Yes, no, absolutely. We're seeing clients all of a sudden taking well-being far more seriously, especially for those working at home and or looking after children. We found that working from home in itself is raising awareness of this topic, because we can see each other in our natural habitats, so to speak. For example, my massive mural behind me. And when we understand more about each other, the more compassion we tend to feel for each other. And so when people talk about needing help for their well-being, we can more easily conceptualize them as a whole person. And so they're being taken far more seriously. And given the remote nature of many workers, we're hearing calls for more digital solutions to help them better connect to each other and to resources to help them cope. We've got at PA, we've got 3 pieces of technology that we have built and are developing to answer those needs. So we've got a wellbeing platform, which is resources at the point of need, which are tailored to the client and also are interactive for the user. In support of that, we've got a wellbeing AI chatbot, which is combined with that platform. So if someone says, I'm feeling stressed, what can I do? The chatbot links them to the right resources, either content or people. And this can also be used as a temperature check if you're an HR manager or a line manager, you can use the proxy data to track how many people go to what resources, telling you what people are really worried about, and therefore helping them to create more targeted response.
Perfect. And Devyani, just now then, after hearing some of the insights from Helen and Tariq, what are your thoughts on this particular issue?
Well, clearly, I think as both Tariq and Helen have said, there is a fair amount happening, but I thought I would just summarize a little of what's happening in each of these three spaces.
Sure.
So if you look at physical wellness, for example, currently what you have is a lot of apps catering to individuals. And of course, all this is not new. I think 10,000 steps, nutrition, there's really almost a fund of digital solutions available. And then, of course, given the crisis, I think companies have quickly shifted more to virtual Zoom physical exercise sessions, whether it's yoga, and I think Tariq mentioned that again. The third thing that is, because of the crisis, that's also is stepped up is virtual GP sessions. But really, over the next 6 to 12 months, what you're going to see is a shift from individuals using it to corporates providing these solutions, because as I said, it's really gone up on the agenda. There will also be an increased focus on what used to be traditionally known as occupational health. So if you look at, Track Active, for example, which focuses on neck and back pain or just musculoskeletal pain, because employees are now going to be working from home, makeshift offices, corporates will have to step up to take more responsibility for this. And I guess also specialist problems, but the focus will be, I think Helen referred to chatbots. The focus will be on specialist two-way communication. It's not just chatbots leading you to something, but more of two-way communication. That's the shift you're going to see over the next 6 to 12 months.
Absolutely, yeah.
Moving on to mental wellness, as I said, currently mindfulness. Again, there's a lot available, positive feelings, reframing thoughts. Again, a lot of apps helping individuals around it. Sleep has figured quite a bit, as well as motivational coaches. But over the next 6 to 18 months, you are going to see an increase around isolation, around helping emotional support through chatbots, through virtual avatars, but also panic, depression, specialist cases. So I think in terms of technology, augmented reality is going to play a far bigger role as far as mental wellness goes. And then if we shift to financial wellness, again, I think Tariq referred to a few things. I think education, currently digital solutions are being used for education to help employees watch spending. Affordable loans is another area. But again, given the crisis, I think paying furloughed staff is a completely new area that has emerged. But over the next 6 to 18 months, I think it's very clear that there's going to be a big change in pay structures, whether it's reduction of salary, benefits, and good organizations are going to use a combination of communication as well as doing this. So I think solutions that can combine the two will do very well. Temporary staff is going to increase quite a bit. And again, a lot of organizations are not used to that. The connection between financial wellness as well as mental health will go up. So solutions, and therefore blockchain solutions in general, are going to become far more important.
Thanks, Devyani. That's great. So just moving on actually to Helen now, and hearing what you have there and knowing what you guys are going through at PA. What are you looking at a bit differently given the landscape over the future months?
So looking into the future, we believe that as people stay on lockdown and maintain social distancing, I think the link between how we connect to one another and well-being will become even more intertwined and complex, because we realised that when you don't see anybody, your basic need to belong is like proper obstructed, and I think that's really impacting people. And so what this means for clients is we think they'll need to go beyond some well-being tips and a couple of apps towards more a comprehensive AI sort of human employee relationship management to support people, not only through crises, but preventing problems happening in the first place. So I'm going to guess that we're going to see a leap in affective computing, from like AI coaches to well-being analytics engines that can use proxy data to alert you or your manager of your well-being risks, to augmented technologies such as facial recognition to help workers and leaders show more compassion when talking to someone. As an extreme non-work example that we have now, not PA, but in the world, is a company called Replica, where you can create your own AI person with whom you establish a specific personal relationship. And that can be a friend or a mentor or even a romantic relationship. And you can chat to them and tell them how you're feeling and whatnot. It's a bit slightly uncanny valley, because it is like talking to someone. And it's not the norm to have a romantic robot relationship yet, but that could change in the future.
Yes, we can all live in hope. And Tariq, what are you guys doing at Legal in General differently now, given the situation we all face?
Yeah, I think it's first of all, from a corporate kind of large enterprise perspective, having an employee experience team to begin with is a big win. I think that's one thing that you have to Legal in General acknowledge, that we need a team. We need to group together, like Helen had said, this theme of wellness and other employee experience themes together and create a joined up experience. And that's something that supports employees, gives them purpose, makes them feel supported. I think for us, it's ensuring there is that core principle of wellness throughout all of our employee projects we deliver, products we deliver. It's hard to make it tangible to see benefit and outcomes from it. But if you have that core theme running through, say, delivering anything from digital workplaces to these bots that Helen mentioned as well, we need to make sure they have a wellness element to them and that we're ticking KPIs off for them. For us, it's really a shift, and it's all about data, people data. I mean, it comes back to getting your people data right, getting it updated regularly, but also having enough metadata around people, whether it's their skills, to build that whole person up, to then create more nudges, so we don't have to do this in a manual way as most corporates do right now. So we could preempt, and for us, it's knowing what the employee is going through and then being able to preempt and suggest and nudge to them where we can be of service.
You're on mute.
Absolutely, the people data is vital, I think, to making these plans. And Devyani, what is it that the HR Tech Partnership and more specifically the Innovation Hub are doing around this at the moment?
Yeah, so I think it can be quite bewildering entering into this whole new world where the AI and bots and all that exists. And so the hub was really set up to help HR leaders or corporate leaders and handhold them a little in terms of, and give them a safe space to experiment, because by using the hub, what we do is we help them figure out what's the right problem they can use AI and technology for. And it's a problem, it's not a big rollout that we're talking about. We source the right solution for them, which again is important because you want to minimize risk. We help them through the pilot, but we also facilitate a learning session and we bring in 3 corporates together. So the whole idea is to experiment, to make sure that you're handheld. But I think Tariq referred to the fact that increasingly now it's not an option anymore. Using data analytics intelligently is the way forward. And the hub really allows you to experiment, innovate in a very small way, pilot it without making big commitments. And we do it across really any part of the employee life cycle. So it can be right from workforce planning to culture, leadership, wellness, coaching, pay and benefits. It's across, and because the team is really made up of experienced HR practitioners.
Perfect. Okay, and finally, Tariq, I want to come to you first for our final question, which is just around, I think a lot of problems that the talent leaders and business leaders will have is around building a business case and budgets are being slashed right now. How would you advise that people approach that, and how have you as Legal in General gone about that as well?
I think from a corporate perspective, and there's legacy issues here as well, and I think to be real about it is, are businesses worried that being remote is productive? And I think that's the big key here is like we've got this wellness linked into it, where employees may feel that they're not being productive. They overly show that they're being productive, and I think that's what we need to cut. And for us at Legal in General, what we're trying to do is show this is an opportunity. Actually, this is a time to take stock, think about how we actually get work done, and prove in small use cases over time, which we have been doing over the lockdown periods, to prove that work can get done. We can collaborate, and how can we make efficiencies in that as well. So for us, building the business case is to show that teams can be productive in this way, and that can lead to better outcomes for our customers. It might mean that we make tweaks to the way we use physical space, and also the tool sets that we give to individuals, but also making them upskill in the digital remote way of working.
Yeah, exactly. I think as one door closes, a lot of the time another one opens, and even though remote working is proving difficult, a lot of the time there are opportunities elsewhere. And Helen, what are your thoughts on the wider effect as well on people's mental and physical and financial well-being?
I would say that according to there was a study done by the University of Oxford that happy employees are 13% more productive. Meanwhile, the cost of well-being on organisations is vast. Prior to the pandemic, the cost of people coming into work despite being sick cost the UK economy £37 billion due to lower productivity and also spreading it to others and making everyone sick. And meanwhile, mental health support costs businesses about £42 billion a year. Today, in the middle of a pandemic, we have organisations where some employees are being furloughed or lost their jobs. And as a result, there's going to be more work being landed on the laps of remaining employees, giving them even more stress on their well-being. And however, workplace interventions, we believe, can provide a huge return on investment. So as a little example, and this is data taken from the Office of National Statistics, the average number of 6 days per employee is about 4.4. And if you take the average daily wage of £117, if you have a company that's, say, 5,000 people, and each person takes 4.4 days sick day a year, that's a total of 22,000 sick days at a cost of £2.5 million. If you invested £100,000 wellbeing initiative, and just as a sort of a gauge, our PAs to wellbeing chatbot and platform costs about that much, a bit less. And let's say the aim was to reduce the number of average sick days per person by 1 day, so it was 3.4 instead of 1.4. Your number of sick days would go down from 22,000 to 17,000, and your overall cost to the company would be just under 2 million, which would save you about £500,000. They're making the cost to benefit ratio about 1 to 5, which just by that simple example indicates right away the cumulative impact just a small investment would actually make to your organisation. And also, my personal view is that it's not just a money business case, it's also the moral business case.
Of course, yeah.
So to cause people's happiness and not suffering is just the right thing to do.
Yeah. And Tarek, did you have something to add to that as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a case of, this is the way, it's not just from employees, but the way our lives will shift as a whole. We have to, can't force kind of square pegs into circles at the moment. That's, I think, where you can get to if you're not careful. And then you end up in an organization where you're behind the curve completely and everyone else would have been on this journey. So it's really important for organizations to start building that business case right now.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I appreciate you answering those questions, guys, the pre-planned ones. We do have a live chat function, so if anyone wants to put some questions in there, we do have one from Claire at YC. And again, same as last time, we've got some interest in some blockchain solutions. And Devyani, have you seen anything at the Innovation Hub or anything like that that's looked at that? Have you had much exposure to blockchain solutions for wellness specifically?
As I said, I've seen it more in the financial wellness space. And the kind of solutions I've seen are, one is which ensures that people get paid literally the day they, especially if you're part-time, temporary, etc., the day you need to, which can make a big difference for somebody who's on a low wage. Or it is also in a currency, if you're working across countries, then trying to use blockchain to almost make that far more efficient. Those are some life's actual solutions I've seen. But clearly blockchain, as I said, in terms of financial solutions, is going to be quite big.
Yeah. Okay. And Tarek and Helad, either one of you or both of you, have you had much exposure to blockchain solutions?
I can go first. Yeah, I think from to Devyani's point, I think there are organizations out there, some of the challenger banks, that are paying, for example, your wage early, because just due to the operational processes that we are used to as a legacy, that we expect to be paid on a certain time because it's held in 24 hours in stasis, for example. But I think from a wellness perspective, the whole point of blockchain is to cut out the middleman, so to speak, and to make processes occur quickly and in real time. And that's where there are opportunities in the wellness space, because that creates anxiety in itself. If you have to wait for your organization to process something that might take a week, for example, where you're in dire need of a service, whether it's health or financial, that's where we need to start building these blockchain cases out.
And Helad, any thoughts, any further additions to that?
Not really. I know about a lot of topics. Blockchain is sadly not one of them, so I'm not going to pretend that I do.
Yeah, well, me neither. So let's move on. Well, I've, as I said, very much appreciate you guys coming on. We haven't got any more questions, actually. So if anyone does have anything they'd like to ask, we're still going to be on for another 5 or few minutes at least. I've got some. We have one through here. So, is the financial argument really resonating with corporates to adopt a real well-being strategy? What else is holding back corporations to really implement well-being? I don't know if any of you have any thoughts on that.
I've got a small view on that one. Just working with a lot of corporates, yes, money is a big blocker. However, one of the other things that we've noticed, particularly with AI, is the hype. So there's a concept, if people are familiar with it, availability heuristics, where if you see something in the news a lot, you think it's more likely to happen. And the social discourse on AI went from being it's a panacea and can solve all your problems, you don't need employees anymore, to it's possibly very dangerous and can completely destroy your entire company. So you're getting business and HR leaders who don't really know that much about AI. It's mostly in the world of technologists who are kind of going, we like the idea of it, but it's too scary. Like PA and CIPD published a piece of work on AI in the workforce last year about it, and the big challenge was nothing's being targeted at HR and business leaders. They don't really understand. And when it comes to particularly AI and emotions, AI tends to be optimized towards achieving a task. And in terms, but our emotions are the cause and effect relationship is much messier. And so you couldn't really have a chatbot to help someone who is suicidal, for example, going, here, look at this resource. It's something we're going in the right direction. We've got AI, which is brilliant at doing natural language processing, or NLP, and is good at sentiment analysis, but we're not quite at solving people's emotional problems just yet. So I think it's more of that. So I think that's more of an education piece to businesses who want to maybe use AI and digital solutions, but don't really understand what it actually can do.
Yeah, and if I can just add on to that, Bill, I think the hub really was set up precisely for that, because it's either it's too scary or probably people just don't know what to do. And there is an HR is. I can see that as a former CHRO, but HR is still, most HR people are still not very comfortable with technology. So they do need much more hand-holding than probably some other functions.
Yeah, and it's just, That question's quite interesting because it comes back to the point that is your corporation, your organization are you being technology led here, or actually thinking of the problem, actually solving the real problem? Because that's where I think you can get to in the AI space, is starting with AI and then trying to build cases on top of it. When really, I'll give an example. Organizations first need to understand the role their employee plays in that. So at L&G, we understood that. We built this team and we said, right, one of the things we need to work out is how effective are our teams? How do we build high performing teams? And then going through that, we built an in-house tool for that, what we use, which is all about diversity and inclusion and creating wellness in the inclusive space of teams, which we've built out and have got test cases for. But in that leads nicely into AI, because what you're doing there is you're using data, using AI tools to say, are my teams being effective? Are they, are they more productive? Is the inclusive nature, the diversity data moving into that and creating that wellness factor? So start with the problem, understand where your employees fit into it, and then hopefully the tech will lead you to something like AI.
Great answer.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a very good point. And what I'm going to do now is just share my screen again for some key takeaways. We do have one more question though as well, which I'd like to just field to the panel, and they're just asking about therapy or free therapy or discounted therapy, and should that be included and offered as a standard perk at this time?
I would say 100%. I'm kind of looking into the concepts of HR subscription services, like leveraging off the back of we live in a subscription economy, and therefore what services should HR enable people to be subscribed to? And in this case, that would be a service that you'll definitely have for free, because if you invest in people's emotional well-being now, it'll pay dividends into the future.
Perfect. Okay. I mean, I think hopefully that answers all the questions that have been fielded. Just before we go, I just wanted to give everyone a visual stimulus for the key takeaways, but just run through them. So I think one of the early things was definitely that health and well-being is now a strategic priority over just a nice to have. A lot of companies, secondly, will be going through a huge transformation in their tone, in the comm strategy that they have, and that shouldn't be forgotten. Invest in people data. Tariq, you made a great point there, and I think that really justifies a lot of decisions that people can make, and also measure the ROI of any solutions that they go for. Emotions are complex, aren't they? Just it's striking that balance between AI. I think is something that Helen the point she made was spot on. I think there, we're not there yet in some cases. Be agile. Yeah, I think the companies that are doing best in this are trying to be as agile as possible. And then that leads nicely onto the final takeaway in terms of adoption. The more agile you are, the better you will be in adopting these disruptive tech and AI solutions as well. I just thought we had one more question there, but we haven't got anything through. So that just leaves me to say thank you very much to the panel. I think we were just a couple of minutes over, but thank you very much for keeping your answers brief and to the point. And if anyone wants to be introduced to Hella, Devyani, or Tariq, please get in touch. And I'm happy to share these takeaways with anyone as well. So please do follow up if that's the case. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.